Hey guys, today we descend somewhere humans were never really meant to go. The surface? That's long behind you. As light fades above, it doesn't just get darker, it gets thicker, heavier, like the water itself is tightening its grip. There's no floor yet, just blackness below and pressure that feels like it's leaning on your ribs. The walls of your submersible groan a little, metal gently reminding you that you're somewhere hostile to basically every molecule of your body. It's an opening premise, and you can do that more than once. And no, you probably won't survive this. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. Only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is in your corner of the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into today's journey together. You drift downward into the Mariana Trench. It's not dramatic, not yet. It's just quiet. Too quiet.
There's this myth that all deep-sea descents come with panic-inducing claustrophobia or cosmic horror-style visions. But really, it's more boring than that at first. You stare out into endless blue-black nothing and wait. You wonder if your mind is just trying to make up things to see. At a certain depth, even your thoughts sound muffled, like your brain is trying to speak through an old dive helmet. No birds, no bubbles, no sound. Then, a click. Not from the sub, but from the water. Click, pause, then a double click. Not mechanical.
Not natural. Just something. The Mariana Trench is known for that, by the way. Recordings filled with sounds no one can identify. Researchers sometimes call them non-biological unknowns. Charming label, right? By the time you hit 7,000 meters, you can't even remember what your own voice sounds like. You tap on the controls out of habit, but the scream feels distant. Not because it's malfunctioning, because you are. It's like being inside a sensory deprivation tank, except instead of floating, you're being dragged lower by gravity's sulky cousin. Here's a fun, mainstream historical fact to keep things grounded. Back in 1960, US Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh and Swiss oceanographer Jacques Picard reached the bottom of the trench aboard the Trieste. They heard a loud crack on the way down, by the way. The outer window cracked under pressure. They continued anyway. Humans are weird like that. But you're not in 1960. You're in now. And this descent feels off. The pressure gauges start behaving like mood rings. One dips for no reason. The other flickers and then locks in at a number your training said shouldn't exist. You tap the side of your helmet. Again, habit, but nothing changes. The light on your sub flickers as if something moved in front of it. But there's nothing. At least, nothing you can see. The trench has a way of making you feel like the visitor. You know that feeling when you walk into someone's home uninvited? Multiply that by 10,000 and add a dash of "this place has never heard of humans." And yet, there's motion. Not yours, not the water. Something glides just beyond your range of vision. Smooth, slow, deliberate. You stare too long and it stops. It's polite like that. Some researchers argue that life in the trench has evolved to camouflage, not just visually, but neurologically. That is, it doesn't just hide from your eyes, it hides from your attention. If that sounds a little too sci-fi, just know that scientists still argue whether Gigantodectus, that bizarre deep-sea fish with the glowing lure, is one species or many. Turns out, when all your specimens are from pitch black water and kind of look like rejected Pokemon, classification gets tricky. At 9,000 meters, your sub's interior is dimly lit in red, preserving night vision, or at least what's left of it. You begin to notice a faint vibration, not inside the sub, but in your bones. It's not a sound, it's something below sound. Something seismic, maybe. Or maybe it's you. Your heartbeat is trying to sync with the rhythm of the trench, and it's losing the beat. The walls of the trench appear, finally, black rock, ancient and sharp-looking, like if a cathedral had melted and re-solidified into jagged obsidian. You drift close enough to see something carved? No, that's silly. Erosion, probably. But the shape seems a little too regular, almost like a spiral, tucked just behind a rock shelf. You glance away. When you look back, it's gone. This is where the silence starts to hurt. Not just ears ringing quiet, but absence. Your sub emits a soft mechanical hum, sure, but the world outside gives you nothing back. Your sonar blips and then doesn't, as if the sound was swallowed. Not echoed, not resisted, just absorbed. Like the trench heard your ping and decided not to answer. Scientists recorded a strange phenomenon here in the early 2000s. Sonar pings distorted by what appeared to be a mobile dead zone. Like a bubble where sound refuses to behave. Theories range from undersea methane clouds to thermal inversion layers, to something that doesn't want to be heard. The last one isn't in peer-reviewed journals, obviously, but it is in the forums you find when you scroll way too far down at 3 a.m. You scratch an itch on your shoulder and realize it hasn't itched in hours. Or maybe time's just doing weird things. You're not sure when you last blinked, and you could swear the trench wall moved again. The exterior light picks up a shimmer. For a second, it looks like silt. Then it looks like scales. Then it's gone. Again. A fringe belief, mostly dismissed now, is that certain parts of the trench contain non-Newtonian water, fluids that react not just to pressure, but in tension, like it thickens if you want to go faster. Pure nonsense, obviously, except your controls just slowed your descent without you touching them. So either that's a software issue, or the water has opinions. And at the very bottom of the trench, something ancient lives. Not necessarily biological, just old. Pressure changes carved the landscape here before dinosaurs existed. Historians still argue whether HMS Challenger, the 1,875 British ship that first measured the trench's depth, recorded the full truth. Some of their readings were off by kilometers, clerical error or redaction. You reach the seabed, or at least a seabed. It feels soft, not like sand, more like flesh. You don't like that thought, so you don't sit with it. Instead, you stare into the dark and wonder how far down really goes. There's something about total darkness that plays tricks with your brain. But here, the darkness plays back. You sit suspended in that syrupy blackness at the supposed bottom of the Mariana Trench, but the word bottom suddenly feels presumptuous. This doesn't feel like the end of something. It feels like the beginning, like the top floor of a building that was never meant to be climbed. Your sub's lights dimming in, not from power loss, but almost as if the darkness outside is pushing back. The trench doesn't like being seen. You rotate slowly, your hands cold on the controls, and spot something impossible, a flicker of movement that leaves a trail of light, like bioluminescence, but with no creature in sight. Just a residue of glow that arcs upward, vanishing into the void, like someone exhaling cold breath. That's your second light anomaly in less than an hour. Not bad, considering most dives down here report zero visibility and an overwhelming sense of wrongness. You make a note on your log, even though you're not sure who will ever read it. You don't even know if you're recording anymore. The screen has started flickering between status readouts and static. White snow, then black, then back again. You tap it, again, at instinct, but it ignores you like a bored cat. Outside, a shape moves across the trench floor. Long, thin. It doesn't swim, it glides. Think less eel, more ribbon caught in molasses. You only see it for 3 seconds, but your brain files it under unacceptable. Not because of what it is, but because of how big it shouldn't be. And this time, you swear the trench doesn't just feel alive, it feels crowded. Now's a good time to tell you about Bathynomus giganteus, the giant isopod. It's basically a deep-sea cockroach the size of a puppy. Adorable, in that don't touch me, I might be radioactive sort of way. Fun fringe fact, some people believe they're responsible for mystery bites on undersea cables, like entire chunks bitten off with tooth patterns we don't fully recognize. But hey, who doesn't love an undersea whodunit? As you drift further along the trench floor, your lights catch on something metallic. Finally, something man-made. It's rusted, bent, but unmistakably a part of a Cold War-era submersible. The cylindrical structure is half buried in silt, as if the trench wanted to keep it a secret, but got lazy. Halfway through, you maneuver closer, brushing against it with your exterior camera arm, and see faded lettering. Cyrillic. Soviet. Here's your mainstream fact. The Soviets attempted multiple deep-sea military explorations in the 1970s, many of which remained classified. There were even rumors of an experimental pressure-resistant drone nicknamed the Widow that vanished without a trace somewhere in the Western Pacific. You're not saying this is it. You're also not saying it's not. Near the wreckage, you spot something even more disturbing. Scrapes. Not from impact, from movement. As if something large was dragged away. And then, a trail. Deep grooves in the seabed, leading further into the trench. You follow. Visibility drops again, not because of distance, but because of particulate matter. It looks like dust, but there's no current. The silt just hangs there, like it's waiting. The trail ends at what looks like a cave, or maybe a hollow. Your sonar refuses to map it. You send out a ping and get nothing. Not even the usual echo, just silence. The water around the entrance shimmers slightly. Not a glow, not a reflection, just that weird liquid glass effect you see on hot roads. But you're at the coldest point on Earth. That shouldn't be happening. You pause, not because you're scared, although you are, but because you feel watched. It's a heavy kind of attention. Not like someone peeking over your shoulder, more like something ancient checking its schedule and realizing it had company. You drift back slightly, but not fast enough. A shape emerges from the cave. No light, no movement, just a change in pressure. Your sub groans, metal tightening around you like a closing fist. It feels like gravity doubled, tripled. Your vision narrows. You swear the lights outside dim again, not from the sub, but from whatever is absorbing them. And then, nothing. It's gone. Pressure equalizes. Your ears ring. Your fingers tingle. The cave sits silent, like nothing happened. But you feel it. You know. The trench isn't empty. It never was. That bloop sound we mentioned earlier, the one detected in 1997 and never officially explained? Yeah. The US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, insists it was ice calving, basically a giant underwater iceberg splitting. But the recording was suspiciously loud, heard over 5,000 kilometers apart, and it came from near the trench. Historians still argue whether it was geological, biological, or something we shouldn't be trying to name. As your pulse slows and the sub settles, you try the comms again. Static. Of course, you haven't heard a human voice in what feels like hours, maybe more. Time doesn't behave down here. Your digital clock skipped ahead by 17 minutes, then back by 6. You could swear your oxygen was at 74%, and now it's 68%. It's not leaking. It's just changing, like someone's adjusting the variables while you're not looking. You shine your lights again toward the trench wall, and wait. You've seen that spiral before. The one from earlier? The knot carving? It's back, but this time it's deeper. A second ring. Like it's unfolding layer by layer. You don't want to admit it, but you're starting to wonder if it's watching you now. The wall itself seems alive, not moving, just listening. You float there, heartbeat soft against your suit's lining, and think about what life would be like if this was home, if this crushing, black nothing was your normal. Your lights catch another shimmer. This time, it's just light. No source, no fish, no glow sticks, just hovering radiance. You stare too long. You blink. It's gone. You drift away slowly, guided by your thrusters, trying not to disturb whatever fragile piece the trench has offered you. It feels like walking backward out of someone's house after accidentally opening the wrong door at a family reunion. And yet, part of you wants to stay. Not because it's beautiful, not because it's safe, but because it's honest. The trench doesn't pretend to like you. It doesn't try to sell you anything. It just is. And somehow, that's scarier than monsters. You try to rise, carefully, slowly. But there's this moment, just a moment, where the trench doesn't let you. The sub responds, sure, but the water doesn't. Like trying to run through a dream where your legs won't move. The propulsion systems hum, the controls light up green, but you don't go anywhere. Then, without warning, you do. Upward motion begins, not gradual, not gentle. The trench releases you like a bouncer who's had enough of your presence. And even though you've been begging for this moment, part of you resents it. Not out of defiance, but curiosity. There's something about what you just saw or didn't see that scratches the inside of your brain like an unreachable itch. As you ascend, your lights catch one final flash row, a sharp glint, not metal, not organic, but what? Just a quick, angular reflection in the distance that disappears as fast as it came. You think, satellite dish. Then you think, no, impossible. And then you stop thinking altogether, because your oxygen is still ticking down even faster now. Like you've aged 5 minutes just from looking at it. The trench wall begins to thin out into smoother topography. The crushed cathedral look fades into something more like rolling underwater dunes. Gentle, almost peaceful. But peace doesn't belong here, does it? Your comm system crackles finally. Just static, but it's something. You tap a few keys. A distorted voice pushes through the noise, and it's speaking English. Or something that used to be English. The cadence is familiar, but the words don't connect. like an AI trying to imitate human speech based only on blurry recordings. You freeze. The voice doesn't belong to your ship. You're the only one here. Unless you're not. You adjust frequency. The voice stops. The comms go dead. Again. Historians still argue whether Project Azorian, the CIA's 1974 attempt to recover a sunken Soviet sub from the Pacific, found what it claimed to find. The official story, it recovered part of the wreckage. The unofficial story, some pieces of the submarine were too damaged to identify, or too different. A few documents mention metal fatigue inconsistent with known oceanic pressure, whatever that means. Anyway, here you are, staring out the viewport again, thinking about what inconsistent really feels like when you're inside it. Time starts to behave even worse the higher you go. Your instruments tell you you've been ascending for 12 minutes. Your body says it's been an hour. Your hands feel older. Your knees ache like you've been on a long flight, even though you've barely moved. There's a flicker in your peripheral vision every few seconds. You try to ignore it. You fail. Then, your camera arm bumps into something. Not rock, not metal. Bone. A long, smooth vertebra, as thick as your torso. It's not part of a whale, not even close. The structure isn't right. No flanges, no signs of cartilage. Just a long, perfectly articulated column, draped in the kind of algae that only grows near hydrothermal vents, except you're nowhere near one. You don't stop to investigate. You mark the coordinates, again, out of habit, but you already know nobody will come back for it. Not after what you've seen, not after what you've felt. Because here's the thing, the trench doesn't scare you by showing you monsters. It scares you by making you suspect them. It doesn't roar, it whispers. It doesn't lunge, it watches. It's not interested in horror, it's interested in secrecy. You keep climbing. Your lights flicker for a final time, and when they return, your surroundings have changed. It takes you longer than it should to realize why. You're not in the trench anymore, but you're not at the surface either. Everything outside the V-port is blue, like swimming pool blue, unnaturally bright, too shallow looking for this depth. Your instruments say you're still 6,000 meters down, but the view looks like a coral reef at noon. And worst of all, you can see the sun. You stare straight up, and there it is, light pouring down through shimmering water, like you're only a few feet from breaking the surface. You don't move. You don't breathe. Your fingers hover over the controls. That can't be the sun. You haven't reached the upper ocean yet. This is a trick, a mirage, or something pretending to be the end. You hover there, trying to decide whether to break the surface. But here's the twist. There's no surface. You push forward, upward. The light gets closer, brighter, more aggressive. And still, your depth gauge doesn't change. 6,000 meters, 6,000 meters, 6,000 meters. It's like you're stuck in a loop. A pretty one, a polite one, but still a loop. You think about those deep-sea creatures that never surface, how they live entire lives in the dark, unaware that the sky exists. Maybe this is what they'd see if they tried to leave. A false exit, a glowing lie. You try to descend again. The sub resists. You try to shut down systems. They ignore you. You pull back. Nothing changes. There's a fringe theory among a small group of oceanographers that the trench folds reality at certain pressure levels, like time gets stuck, or location becomes optional. Most scientists laugh it off. But some don't. Some look very tired when you ask about it. And right now, you understand why. Because here, at 6,000 meters, staring at a sun that shouldn't be there. You start to feel it. You never left. All those movements, all that climbing, all those directional shifts. Just a spiral. The same spiral you saw carved into the trench wall. This isn't the way out. It's just a prettier part of the same trap. You lean forward, forehead against the viewpoint. You squint at the distant shimmer, and you see it, just barely, just once. A shadow, human-shaped, floating just at the edge of the light, upright, still. You blink. Gone. Your sub hums softly, like it knows you've stopped trying. You're not alone down here. You never were. You let go of the controls. There's nothing else to press. No direction left to travel. Just light above and shadows all around. Your breathing slows, not from peace, but from surrender. The trench isn't trying to hurt you. It just wants to hold you. The soft hum of your sub fades into the background, like white noise, blending with your own heartbeat. That glowing surface, whether real or not, doesn't seem so urgent anymore. It's just another layer, another ceiling. Maybe there is no surface. Maybe there never was. Outside, the water thickens again. Shapes you can't quite name flicker just at the edge of vision. Not close, not far, just present. The trench isn't empty, it's patient. And you, well, you're quieter now. Like something has turned the volume down on your thoughts. Time becomes syrup. Memory, a little less reliable. You wonder how long you've really been here. Then, you wonder if that even matters. Because the deeper truth, it's calm down here. Heavy, yes, but honest. And the longer you sit, the more the pressure feels like a blanket, dense, but warm. Whatever waits above or below can stay waiting. You're not rushing anymore. You close your eyes, not to sleep, just to listen. The kind of listening that doesn't need ears. The kind that happens when you finally stop resisting. The trench sighs. Or maybe that's you. Either way, nothing moves. And for the first time, that feels okay.